Hey guys, welcome back to Inc. Today I have in conversation with me a good friend of mine, Alex Samuel. Alex just went to Wembley with his team Wycombe Wanderers to win the League One playoffs. He's now a championship football player, so naturally I wanted to ask him some weird questions about what Wembley was like. In today's conversation, we look at the sacrifices that it took Alex to become a professional footballer and make it all the way to Wembley. Check out the conversation, and as always, like, share, and subscribe.
All right, how's it going? Welcome to today's episode from Inc. We've all had one of those days where you feel like you don't matter. Everything's going wrong, and no one is there to listen or relate. But here at Inc., you do matter, and here we can relate. Because for all of us, there's always a something, a one thing, or many things that can really affect the way we think and feel. We hope that today's conversation brings a little bit of hope to your day. And do make sure to stay connected by subscribing to the channel.
You did that just as I hit record, so it's so good. All right, well, Alex Samuel, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah, just been a bit of a crazy week, but yeah, it's been good.
What's been so crazy about it? What have you been up to?
I don't know, nothing much, but I know, it was about a week ago. We won at Wembley, League One playoffs, and yeah, it's been crazy. I said my phone has non-stop gone off, and it's kind of, I think we're all in a kind of a, especially just how the year has gone as well, with the season stopping. And I think because in the season we finished 8th actually, but because they automatically did the points and we ended up 3rd and then went in the playoffs, so it's like I think the first team in history to finish 8th and to get promoted. So we're all a bit like, wow, it's amazing.
It's mental. It's so good. Honestly, I can't say I was a Wycombe Wanderers fan before you joined, but I'm probably more an Alex Samuel fan actually. But it's so weird. I see, like, you see Paul Pogba at Wembley, probably haven't seen him there in a while, or like you see these big stars at Wembley and their social media and in the changing rooms after, and you just kind of like, for me, I just swipe past it on social media. And then when your mate is there, it's like, wait a minute, this is crazy. How did my mate end up at Wembley and seeing your social media? What was it like, man? What was it like being at Wembley Stadium?
It was, I've been there twice. Like, I was a Swansea fan growing up. I was there twice, and so I know kind of the size, and I've been up in the higher tiers, and it is massive. So I think it was just the whole build up was so like, oh my days, it was so exciting. And it was literally, I remember, the changing room, you'd walk in and it was like such a huge changing room. You got like all these amazing stuff, and it was just amazing experience. And then it was that moment where you'd walk out the tunnel and it literally just opens up, and you don't know where to look, and you're just like, oh my days, like, this is a huge stadium but very empty as well, which is a very weird experience. But it was truly something I'll never forget,
Mate, so I feel like I got so many questions on this because I'm a kid that wanted to be a footballer, and I just want to know about Wembley, which is a whole other conversation. First question. Are there away and home changing rooms at Wembley? And if so, what one were you in?
What was I in? I think I was in the away one. I think I was in the away one, but I think they're very like they're very like the same. They're just on the different sides of the tunnel, and they are huge because I think the NFL they play their games at Wembley. Yeah. So the changing room, there's like one major changing room, which again we had to be socially distanced in the changing room, and then you'd have an added changing room on the other side, like through, like, you go through this walkway, and then you'd have like the substitutes in that one. So it was just so massive. It was crazy.
What was the coolest thing about Wembley?
Oh, I think just the arch. I think the coolest thing was like after the game when you've won, and I was there just like FaceTiming my wife, like sitting like
Yeah.
on the goalpost, just talking to my missus and just being like, what is going on? I was just looking around, going, it's not a bad way just to spend your Monday night, just chilling at Wembley. It was really cool.
Ah, so good, mate. So good. And like, so for us, the general public watching, we're like, that's just like a moment of success in your career. But there's obviously been a journey in the build up to that. And that's what I'd love to delve into today is like what that journey's looked like for you. I remember playing football as a kid, just wanting to get to the moment that you've just achieved, never getting remotely close to it. So what's the journey been like for you in football, taking it from a passion to a paycheck?
It's been such a journey. I mean, I think there's been more setbacks, to be honest, than actually, the success that, I'm getting now. Football is such a cutthroat business, and like my journey started when I was 16 at Aberystwyth in the Welsh Premier League, and it started there. And it was only until I was 16, really, that I kind of realized that football could be a serious thing for me. Because obviously you get nowadays, 8-year-olds or even like up to 12-year-olds getting sent away in football schools, like that's where the world's going right now, which is crazy. So for me, the start of my like foundation in football was that what happened with me is that I was able to just enjoy it, and it was not such a serious thing. I was at 15, 16, still being able to play with my friends, enjoy it all. It wasn't as serious as it was, but when I hit 16, it started to turn really serious. So yeah, that's kind of where it started off, was at Aberystwyth. And I had a good success there, and then I had Man United and Newcastle having wanting a trial, which was a huge thing as well. I was just like, wow, what's going on? And then Swansea then offered me a scholarship, and that 2-year scholarship was everything, just because how much I loved Swansea growing up, and I was just perfect as in Wales, and that's when I moved down there. But I think those early years at Swansea were probably one of the toughest, and I realized how brutal football was and cutthroat. It is, it honestly is so cutthroat. If that, I'll tell you a story. So like through your scholar, you are working for that professional contract. So you're working every single day, and I was doing really well. And a few months before they all sit you down and decide who gets a professional contract. And if you don't, then like you're really struggling to try and find anywhere else. A few months before that, we had this striker come in. So I've been grafting for 1.5 years, trying to work, just try and do everything I can. And they brought in a striker on trial, and he does one good thing in training, and they offered him a 2-year professional contract in my position as well. And it's just stuff like, people don't talk about this in football, how like that can just happen. They can think, well, we'll bring in another striker, and then that's what's happened to you. But for some reason, he didn't sign it, which was to this day, I don't know why. I'm not saying because of him, it meant that I didn't get a contract, but so that's why then I was offered a professional contract. But just those early years is such a stressful, and for, still very young, really, if you think about 16, 17, you're still really young. And for footballers, dealing with that stress is really, really high pressure.
Yeah, something that doesn't get talked about. I guess we all see that moment in Wembley, and we don't think about the journey and the sacrifice. And I know that we were saying right before we started recording here that we would go surfing, and I remember if we would go surfing together and it was pre-season, the state on your feet were disgusting, like skin hanging off, blisters everywhere, and that was like a very physical sacrifice. And then you just mentioned like a very mental sacrifice of being rejected at such a young age. You've been grafting all season or pre-season, and then you're just waiting for that one moment of validation. And that's such a crazy, stressful thing. Like, if you're listening, think how many times we've been rejected by like a girl or a guy, or like, it's a big deal. But imagine your whole life is riding on this moment of validation to say you are a professional or not. Like, what were some of the other sacrifices just going throughout your journey that you've had to make to become, to the point you're at today?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think. There's so many, like you said, mentioned physical sacrifices. I've been in a lot of injuries, some really like ones that could have ended my career. So physical, and like we touched on, emotionally as well, the sacrifices of just pushing through even when sometimes you think, it looks impossible. But even just the practical side of, just the simple like drinking at a young age, and having to learn really that you couldn't do that again. And I remember a lot of my friends in Aberystwyth, they would be living one way, and I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't go in that way, because if I was going out every weekend, and I just knew, and it was just in me anyway. I was just like, I just want to give myself the best possible chance to succeed in the field of football, because there's so many boys in that same area that are fighting for those very few places that are available. So yeah, there are huge sacrifices on the way that I had to go through.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last night. I think it's the High Performance podcast. And he talks about when he was a kid, making those same sacrifices you're talking about now. And Ollie's dad was a professional wrestler. And Ollie comes in late one night from a party and has a couple of hours sleep, gets up, feeling a little bit worse for training in the morning. And his dad just takes a sip of his coffee and looks at him and goes, "Do you think this is how you become a professional athlete?" And that was the only negative thing his dad ever said to him. And that just stuck with him in his mind, is this how you become a professional athlete? And I think like, I remember a producer saying to me, he's like, "I can tell you if you're a professional musician by looking at your calendar." And it's the same for anything. I can tell if you're a professional artist, if you're a great accountant, if you're whatever it may be. If I look at your calendar, how many hours are you putting in? What sacrifices are you making? And I think those sacrifices lead to high moments of success, and means you can grit out and tough through those lower moments. One of the low moments in your career that created pressure was your injury that you had. When did you have that injury?
So at Stevenage, so that was about two and a half years ago now. Yeah.
And so you're under that pressure. How did you get through that season of injury and pressure?
So obviously I was at Swansea for 5 years, and I had a few loan moves going up, to Scotland. That's an experience in itself. I definitely grew a few hairs on my chest going up there. And at Newport, and then we decided, we just got married, me and Rachel, and we decided to move to Stevenage. And even that as well, like, people don't talk about as footballers, like, especially with the Scotland thing as well, the sacrifices as well as that is I literally had a conversation with my agent one day, a few days before the transfer window ended. And he said, "Al, Greenock Morton want to sign you on loan." And I'd never heard of Greenock Morton. I was like, where are they? Like I put into Google and it was like west of Glasgow. And then the next day I was traveling up there and I lived there for a year. So football, and it's the same going to Stevenage, it was, it changes your whole life. And sometimes to go for what you love, you have to sacrifice everything. And sometimes that is literally just packing your bags and leaving home and doing what you feel that you need to do. And Stevenage was probably my probably lowest season in a fact of I was plagued by injury. The environment at Stevenage was just so tough, really, really tough. And I practically didn't play. And, after a few months of being injured, a new manager came in and they said, look, we're letting you go. Like, we don't want you anymore. You've been injured all season and that's it. And if you can understand, in League Two, that's where Stevenage was as well. When you're released in a League Two club, injured all year, the amount, if you think about it, let's say that year Stevenage released probably 10, 15 players, If you think in League Two alone, there are 24 teams in the league. If you think of the amount of players that are released every single year and let go without jobs, like that's how mad it is. And you've got players you've got families to feed, you've got bills to pay. And some people, that's their livelihood. And I was in that situation where I was let go. I was jobless. I was literally jobless. And the stress and the pressure of that and the lows that you can go through is unbelievable. And there's no reason there's no wonder why footballers go into depression, because there's the other side of success, and then the other side is depression, the low and lows. Like there's a balance which you need. But it was such a tough time. And it was again grafting and working, and that's what I mean, that my faith in God as well in that time, to rely on something more than just myself was such a huge part of that, and believing that it's going to turn out good was everything for me, and to keep pushing through those hard times. But yeah, so it was a very crazy time 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, and you just mentioned there your faith, and you put out a tweet about that, and about like giving God the glory, and like just your incredible journey that you've been on. And it's so funny. Like I said to my girlfriend Ellie, I said, I'm really excited to talk to her. I'm excited to catch up on Wembley and stuff, but also like I'm excited to I just want to check in, make sure he's doing all right. Like it's a huge high to be on, but then there's got to be backlash that comes with it. And I said to her, I was like, because the band that I play in, we've had like a couple of negative comments, and I'm literally talking a couple of negative comments and maybe 5 more positive comments. So I by no means have any right to be able to speak into someone's life about like fame and stuff. But and then Ellie's like, he was retweeted like 11,000 times. I'm like, oh, jeez. So I have no right to talk about it, but I would love you to share about it, because you've got this like, this new fame. Like you're all over social media. You're passionate about what you believe in. You and Akinfenwa were like praying at the end of the match, but you've had a lot of backlash on that. Like, how do you deal with that pressure, like from fans or not fans of the club, just hitting you where it hurts? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so obviously, to be fair, like you said, there's probably 5 positive and you get the negative. It stirred probably a lot of people who don't believe in God, and all I've put is just, what God did. God showed me a vision of Wycombe, months before in that injury time when I was at Stevenage. So it was just a time, I just felt, I wanted to put something out and reflect, because I was reflecting. And that's what this whole week's been, is just a time of reflecting and seeing how far I've come. And to, obviously, you said, like, from those times where I was so low to Wembley. So I just wanted to do, and I just decided to put a tweet out saying how thankful I am. And, I know that if it wasn't for God, I know that I definitely wouldn't be where I am today. And I remember I put it on a social media, when was it, 2 nights ago? And I woke up the next day and I was like, I'm just, I did my Lidl shopping, went shopping, and I was like, I'll look at my social media a bit later. And I pulled up and I went, let me have a look. And I went on my Instagram. I was like, I said a good reaction, even 2,000. I was like, wow, that's a lot for me as well. And then I looked on my Twitter and it was like 25k likes. I was just like, what the heck is going on? But then you get, like, that's what I mean. Like, I find especially Twitter is brutal. Twitter is absolutely brutal. And I've had so many comments about ridiculing me, ridiculing of my faith, saying that I'm a crazy person, that all about my beliefs are wrong, and really angry comments. Like, there's just been full debates on my feed. And yeah, I think it's a weird one, because something that I've probably struggled with in the past is, I would have, about my football, or a negative comment, which you always get. You're not going to be able to please everyone. There's always going to be someone who just doesn't like you, or doesn't like the way you play, or whatever. And it's tough. And I've realized in myself that trying to have that validation from people is a dangerous thing. And it's so easy to do that, especially for everyone in life. We all love validation. That's a good thing as well, because we all want to know that we're doing well, and we all want to know that we're doing something, and affecting something, or even in people's lives. But it's the hard part when, if you rely so much on validation of people, and what people think about you, that's when you can go into dangerous territories and in situations. So I've kind of just learned that, look, I have not going to please everyone. And especially, I knew putting a statement out like that, I knew a lot of people were going to react to it. But I think it's just sticking to what you believe, and being okay with that, and just accepting that there are going to be people who disagree. There are going to be people who are not, are going to say some hurtful stuff. But I think, like, my validation isn't on what, people say, and, what people think of me. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. And that's why, to be fair, I've been laughing at some comments, to be fair. It's been quite funny.
Yeah, mate, it's incredible. I think, no matter what job you're in, or a walk of life you're in, I think so much of our lives today are built on other people's validation, just 100%. Through social media. Like, it's all about how many likes I get on a post, and football, I don't think we, the general public, realize how much your life is put into other people's hands, coaching staff and managers. And it's so important that we build our foundation on something stronger than what other people think about us. And that's been a common theme in conversation with everybody I've been speaking with, and I think it's so important. If you were in front of a young person today and they said, I want a career in football, what would be your, like, one bit of advice to that young person starting out and wanting a career in football?
Yeah, first of all, it's possible. Like, if for me, being where I am, and to be doing, like, playing at Wembley, and now a championship player, if there is that person who wants to, like, I want to encourage you that it's possible. But it doesn't come easy. Whatever you do, whatever you want to do in life, that your dreams and your passions, it's not going to come to you on a plate. It's going to take such hard work. And I think just going for it and chucking yourself at it sometimes is such a good thing, because if you believe that that's what you want to do and you can do it, then I think as well, for me, it's just that don't be afraid to fail. I think there's such a people with passions and dreams are so scared because it means so much to them to actually go for it, and they hold back because that fear of failure is so great. But like I said, all you can do is your best, and as long as you 100% commit, 100% put the efforts in and the sacrifices you made, the rewards will come. And you're gonna have setbacks. But it's just how you deal with them setbacks to actually make a positive out of them. I've had so many setbacks, but every time you just got to be like, okay, let's try and how can I improve? What can I do to improve? There's been so many times where the manager, in all my years of different clubs, I've been left out. And it's one of them where you have a choice of feeling sorry for yourself and be like, well, okay, or you can be, no, you know what, I am deciding to improve, get better. What little margins? It's those little margins that make the huge differences. So that's what I'd recommend, and encourage that it's possible. And don't be afraid to fail, and just to keep going and just work, put everything into it.
Yeah, awesome. Mate, I love it. Let's see that championship medal one more time.
Woo.
Yeah. Is it real gold?
I don't know. I don't want to bite and it flakes off, because it's like, I'll be like, well, no, I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely going to be in the keepsake box, I think.
Yeah, awesome. I love it, mate. Well, man, so good to catch up. Thank you for joining us today, mate.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. As a football fan, I had no idea the pressure that footballers are under. Of course, the top guys are paid some great salaries, but for the vast majority of players, they are under so much pressure to provide for their families. I love the part where Alex talked about where he gets his validation from. So often in life, we can look to others to validate ourselves. We can look to others for our self-esteem and self-worth. But from a young age, Alex noticed the importance of not getting his validity and self-esteem from other people. My encouragement from this is that we need to build a firm foundation and make sure that our self-worth is built on a solid rock. Have a great day, guys, and as always, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Hi, you still watching? You must have something better to do by now. Seriously though, thanks so much for watching today's episode from Inc. Remember, we all have those days where you feel like you don't matter. Everything's going wrong and no one is there to listen or relate. But here at Inc., you do matter. Remember, here you're included in something. You're part of a community where you are included. We want to inspire your future and bring a little bit of hope to your day. And before we wrap up, please do subscribe and stay connected to Inc. so we can continue to give you content that delivers a little bit of hope. See ya.